HPE is a sponsor of our coverage from OpenStack in Barcelona. Learn more about HPE Helion, the hybrid cloud, and what it all means for the enterprise customer at hpe.com. Learn more again at hpe.com. Hey, it's Alex Williams, the new stack here at OpenStack Barcelona with Bobby Patrick of HPE. Hey, Bobby.
Hey, Alex.
And Sarwar Raza of HPE. How are you guys doing?
Oh, it's great. It's great to be here.
Yeah.
Excellent. So we want to hear what the HPE strategy is. I want to know what's going on with OpenStack and what you guys are thinking about that right now. I mean, I know you guys have been reorganizing and
right.
and thinking through a little bit about your approach to the market, so I want to hear what it's all about.
Yeah, absolutely. It's there's a really deliberate strategy here. It actually started about a year ago. We announced the spin out of our outsourcing business, our enterprise services to CSC.
Right.
So it's sort of a focus. So now we can partner with the Accentures and the Capgeminis and others, and we don't have a competitive issue there. We also had a $4 billion software business, so proprietary software. You may have heard of Vertica or ArcSight, some really good software. In a lot of cases we compete with other databases and things as well. And our customers today want kind of massive choice, right? There's a database for every use case, for example, right? And so as part of our strategy there, we entered into a partnership with Micro Focus where they would take our proprietary software business.
Right.
We'll then resell it, support it as a with our customers. But then we're going to go broad with our partnerships and at the software layer and think about us as sort of hardware, deep expertise in services, and then tight partnerships. And so we call that our new stack actually. Yeah. And that new stack is one. If you look at our Docker partnership, for example, it's very tight. We built Docker-ready servers, the only one. We're building Docker expertise everywhere and Docker Swarm expertise, and integrating that in and then taking that to market. We want to pick the winners. So we've invested in Chef and Mesosphere and Hortonworks, obviously Cloud Foundry and OpenStack here, right? And so our view is let the community build great software. Let us tie that with the right hardware. Let us build expertise to take it to market. And let us, and I think we have the ability to endorse the winners and make them successful and make them mainstream.
Right, and so Sarwar, tell us how that strategy is filtering down to the product level.
Yeah, so I think at the product level, as Bobby mentioned, we've obviously had broad investments in platforms like OpenStack, right? OpenStack continues to be sort of the platform of choice for our own hardware platform. So our next generation cloud system, right, will be based on OpenStack. I come from the telco side of the house, where our strategy caters to the largest operators in the world, and they are all signaling very, very strongly to us that that in the service provider world, it's open source, and specifically it's OpenStack. So being able to sort of build upon that open source heritage, as well as go broad with a partner ecosystem for things like databases or middleware or even network applications, is right in our sweet spot. I think it really helps our effort to be viewed as as a next-gen telco provider, because the whole concept of NFV is really breaking that vertical silo stack, right? And the approach that HPE is taking as a corporate entity is really helping us with that, right? We're basically going horizontal as opposed to being proprietary vertical.
There you go, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, NFV really being one of those top use cases with the kind of biggest ROI potential in a targeted vertical. This is, Sarwar is an example of how the company will take the new stack and then verticalize that, and then kind of go to market with that and build skills in it. And then in the case of NFV, there are uniquenesses, right? We have an OpenStack version that's carrier grade to give you those nines that you need, right? And there's partnerships and things in there that you've developed as well to kind of round that solution out.
Exactly.
And so I think you'll see us do that more and more, not just in telco, but in other verticals as well.
Okay, so with these with this new this platform strategy, and you're looking at different software integrations, including Mesos, which you guys have Mesosphere, which you have an investment in, and and Docker, and you guys are integrating Docker into your your hardware. Tell us what the story then is for the developer. And it's part of that strategy.
Yeah, so it's a great question, right? Because our ultimate goal with our customers is to help them shift from, our CIO customers from 80% IT to 80% dev.
Okay.
And so I think you have to think of us a little differently. We're not going to necessarily host the meetups. For Docker, they'll do the meetups, right?
Right.
And they'll do the bottoms-up cultivation and grassroots, right? But when we go into the enterprise, then we can then go to the chief architects and the CIOs and others and say, we have with the support, and the kind of the kind of expertise they need to round out their organization, we can make that successful. We can help them transform to serve their developers. And so we pull together those tools. But I think it's important, HPE, we can't pretend to be what we're not, right? So, Docker caters with their API directly to developers, right? And they build a community there. We want to build a great story for IT with Docker. We want to build a great story where, with support and expertise to make that kind of mainstream. And ultimately, probably what we're really doing is the enterprise developer in this case.
Yeah. So why do the end customers want that? Why do they want this approach? Why don't they just go out and use another service at another company's hardware?
Yeah. So let's start with what they're trying to achieve, right? Let's go up to the business transformation. CIOs are in a situation now where they have to disrupt their own IT to help disrupt their business, right? Because every business model is being tested now by startups and others, right? So IT has to operate with speed, right? And they have to operate with agility, right? So they need to move to cloud. Mm-hmm. And the reality, though, is 3, 4, 5 years ago, cloud was synonymous with Amazon Web Services, right? Problem is, AWS is sort of the ultimate in lock-in, right? Because it locked in the entire stack, and our customers want to get away from lock-in. There's a role for public cloud, and then now that we have a very strong and mature OpenStack foundation, there's now a real private cloud alternative, and I think so then they need that kind of the right mix then of private and public clouds as part of their kind of destination. But I think the ultimate goal here is IT has to transform so that it's not just spending time and money on keeping current traditional IT, but actually empowering and enabling developers. And so if they don't accomplish that, then they're not going to be able to transform their organization. I was with the CIO of an airline that said they're no longer an airline, they're a software company with wings, right? Mm-hmm. You've got to make that transformation happen. And so I think the problem is for a big enterprise or for a government agency looking to transition to mobile and 24/7 citizen engagement, you need somebody who has expertise, who you can call on for support, who can complement your organization. Not everybody's going to have the engineers like Google has.
Right.
So, we then bring that full package.
Okay.
And, you take those exact same concepts and move them over to the telcos, right? Most telcos are engaged in a journey right now where they want to become digital service providers, right? They want to be able to enable sort of, the digital lifestyles that we are increasingly getting hooked to. And from a developer perspective and from an application perspective, what they're competing with is the over-the-tops, right? They're competing with not just features and functionality, but the velocity of development and software change that a Google or a Facebook can do based on their infrastructure, right? That a telco based on their current stacks cannot. So this move to a horizontal stack built on open standards, right? x86. Open source based, VIMs, management and orchestration solutions, and sort of best of breed applications in the mix, as opposed to completely vertically integrated stacks. That allows them then to start to build up their own practices of, creating new innovative applications and services, and really, take part in this sort of almost a startup-like mentality. Start up a service in a particular region. If it's a hit, great, I can scale it out to the rest of my customers. If it fails, no harm done, right? It's not like I sunk 24 months standing up an infrastructure in order to do it. So all these concepts translate very, very well to telcos. And in fact, I would say it's now sort of incumbent on them to adopt this, right, to survive.
But it's also a two-win. So you talk about the speed and agility, and it's also, but the first big benefit's the cost savings, right? And you can then shift those dollars. What I'm talking about here, Alex, is a shift of IT spend, right, from IT ops to the enterprise developer. That's what the goal, I think, of kind of the modern relevant CIO has to be, right? And so I think you then shift, and then you want to have a platform you can build on, right? So we're trying to accomplish both of those. But in the case of NFV, just virtualizing those network functions, the savings, the business case there is so significant, right? That you get that cost savings, then you can shift that to the developer, and ideally the cost savings comes from a platform that you can build off of, and that's our goal there.
That's pretty cool. So with that, with that philosophy about openness, how does the customer set up their environment? Do they, how does that work? For that customer who's going to be investing in HPE, so they can get those developers up and running.
Yeah, so I think we would love to say that it's a colon setup, right?
Yeah.
Or it's something we call it zero touch with our OpenStack 4.0. But the reality is it's very complex. Everybody's environment's very, very unique. And our view is that you do need to have great expertise, right, to help complement your organization, to do implementations. You need to have support you can count on that's technical, not a bunch of triage levels of help desks. So, you mentioned earlier reorganizations and things. We're hiring in a big way right now around the expertise to implement in services and the expertise to support. We're going to do less code contributions ourselves now. We see these as the communities build up their projects, and we support them. But we're absolutely hiring, but it's on that, hey, we can bring people in. I mean, every customer meeting here at OpenStack Summit, right? And there are many of them, every time there's more and more. Every one of them goes with, okay, this is great, can you come and help on Monday, right? They don't want a salesperson showing up, right? They don't need PowerPoint slides, right? They need people who can come in and architect, people that can assess, and the people who can implement. And that's where I think there's a big skills gap right now to drive adoption, and that's where our company comes in.
That's where the services come in.
That's right.
Right, and it's services. It's professional services. It's training. It's skills development. It's build, run, manage. Right, but in many cases, right, these customers also want to be able to take advantage of our capabilities to be able to give them a rack level design and be able to ship it from the factory, right, pre-configured, right? We do that, for example, for our telco customers, where they can specify what they want, and when it shows up at their location, all they have to do is plug in the power, and it's done, right? So when you marry sort of the capabilities we have around systems integration, testing, QA, and it's not just our kit, it's partner kit as well, right? So we could integrate third-party kit in there as well, hardware and software, and really provide a jump start to the deployment. You don't want to be in a situation where you've got a business really, really keen on turning up a service, and you've got all the piece parts showing up, in a bunch of boxes, and it takes you 3 weeks to build it all up, right? So again, that's a different level of service and customization that we can provide for cloud providers, for telcos. But by far, I think the most important thing we do right now is make sure that the receiving organization has the skills and the capabilities to be able to stand up on their own, right?
And so then you can so the idea then is to help them kind of have that new stack ecosystem, so to speak, so they can start thinking about how they kind of actually fit into the whole open source ecosystem themselves. I imagine this is a good way to get that started.
Yeah, and I think we want to, we do want to kind of pick the winners, right? And that's something we think is important. So we want to endorse them. We want to make big investments around the winners. But in some cases, there are going to be multiple, right? You can see the container wars battling right now, right? And we've got multiple plays there as well. And you see a touch of Kubernetes and Docker in our own Staccato implementations, right? And I think. And then there's Mesosphere as well, right? I think the question, our view is, though, we would like to see simplicity, and we want to, through expertise and hopefully packaging, make it easier. I think the reason the allure of Docker and why we moved fast on Docker and Docker-ready servers, right, is that adoption is there is one of the easiest, and people, our customers who are more mainstream,
Right.
Traditional enterprises and governments and others, they need that. But I think the beauty of the new stack with us is that, 2 years from now, we'll have a few great new companies come along with some
Right.
really amazing inventions and really exciting communities and great new developer enthusiasm, and we want to bring them in. I think our customers who operate long term, they need us to help with them there, right? They need us to, and so we're committing in this new stack to a design that doesn't say, hey, we're going to build the software ourselves and this is your only one option, right? We're committing to one where we're recognizing that in 2 years there'll be different options, and we're going to hopefully be able to bring them to you as you need them, and that's our new stack goal.
So tell us about the strategy then behind the architecture itself then, and then how you enable that.
Yeah, so so sort of a multi-IaaS, multi-PaaS kind of view at different layers, because people want options. There are VMware shops, right?
Right.
There are Red Hat OpenStack shops, and I think you'll see more flexibility in our view on those layers. We have our own Helium OpenStack. We're partnering with SUSE around, so following that same Docker model, over the next 9 months, we will transfer our OpenStack and some of our engineers to SUSE, and they will do the technology development because what they do really well, right? And they're an open source shop, just like we don't build Docker anymore. So we're kind of helping make that work in the case of OpenStack. But we're going to continue to build those in. OpenStack is the foundation for us from a core cloud system perspective. And then we'll build builds, like Sarwar said. There is a management layer that needs to happen where you can manage identity and billing and chargebacks, and where you can manage across a multi-cloud world, and we see a role with software, and there's more to come here, that should be core to us still around managing that kind of hybrid world.
So it becomes that deployment story is very important for you.
It's deployment. How do you manage that continuous software pipeline, right?
Right.
So it's not just here's the pass, and you can deploy faster, which is important, and we have those pieces, and it's going to be how do you manage that? How do you control that? How do you view identity across these different clouds, and where does data sit? Locality, right? So I think there's a big opportunity there and a role for us. As we're kind of this impartial, hey, it's a multi-cloud world, AWS is an AWS only world, right? To actually go to IT and say, we're going to help you live in that reality.
So that then makes it sense for the telco play, doesn't it? Because then you can start being able to, like with the NFV, for example, you can have some granularity on, and in the networking and what you can do with that.
Absolutely. I mean, there's a really wide swath of use cases. In fact, in a customer meeting today, one of the larger telcos that is also participating here, told us pretty point blank. They said, there's no single vendor and no single solution out there that solves all our needs. So we know it's going to be, a multi-VIM world, right? For us in the medium term, we're going to have instances from UHP and from your competitors, and maybe even straight from trunk for some of the bleeding edge stuff we're doing ourselves. And so the real value then comes around sort of the stitching of both the underlay at the networking level, right? You want these things to be able to federate and talk to each other, right? But also at the management layer. So one of the things, for example, that we're showing here at our booth is an open daylight-based federated controller that can link multiple OpenStack instances in various locations, right? Using L2 and L3, and we're showing performance increases that are 100x over traditional vanilla neutron networking. Again, it's all open source, it's all going upstream, and the idea here is, again, we understand that customers will make choices at various places in the stack, but those things need to come together, right? Both underneath the network level, up here at the management level, and I think there's a key piece for us there.
And look at in Europe at our Cloud 28 Plus program. I'm not sure if you're familiar with that, but Cloud 28 is an ecosystem of the 28 countries where we're bringing together ISVs and service providers and others within Europe. It's 2 years old. There's about 600 members in it now, and now we have connected 128 data centers across different providers in Europe that will deploy OpenStack in those and then we'll use these technologies to help federate across different providers, right, with a single catalog. It's pretty cool. Cloud28plus.eu.
Interesting. So you are supporting Docker, Chef, Mesosphere. What else could we add to that list?
So at the configuration management layer, Puppet and SaltStack,
Right.
I think you'll see now that we're spinning out our kind of proprietary software, you'll see pretty rapid expansion of the database layer.
Okay.
So obviously today, Hadoop, Cloudera is a partner of ours, Hortonworks on the big data side, but we don't have any fast data partners or social graph partners yet, and so you'll see that I think expand very fast.
So what about customers then who say, oh, I really want to use something that maybe isn't part of that list of services?
Yeah, and I think that's going to happen, and there'll be proprietary pieces in there as well, right? We hadn't even discussed yet the Microsoft stack, Azure stack, right? Which is its own kind of platform, which we are bullish on, but that is different. I think we should plan for that. I think we want to pick the winners because our customers are asking us, who should we make a bet on? Who should we build skills around? And we're doing the same thing. But the reality is that we're not going to pick all the winners, and customers are going to have different requirements, and I think we have to plan for that. And if we build our services organization out more like we're doing, that shouldn't be a problem. And I think with our partner model now, where we had our own services business that now going to CSC, we could be much more, much broader in our partnering with integrators than we were before, because we always people said, well, you're competing. Not really, but it was always a choke point. So I think you'll see broader partnering as well, but we won't pick all the winners, I'm sure.
So just in conclusion, what are some of your plans for the next year then that you guys can talk about right now?
Yeah, so we need to finalize our spin merges, right? It's sort of now we've announced them and they're under the works, and I think Micro Focus, our software, is planned for next summer, so there's a lot of work involved in that, right? The work with SUSE, we really want to make sure our customers realize that by transferring SUSE OpenStack to SUSE, that we're not going away at all, diminishing our interest in OpenStack. That's not happening at all. We're just shifting from contributing to implementation and support. That's all we're doing here. And so it's important. I think it's going to be important for us to actually spend time making sure customers see that. I think on the open source software and partnering front, you'll see a lot more of what we've talked about. And we have our venture arm, which is actively involved, and that's all coming together as well. Certainly on the telco front, our biggest vertical, right?
Yeah, we continue to sort of build on the foundation. So you're going to see us come to market with solutions, NFV solutions based on container technologies, right? Containers and VMs, containers and virtualization sort of sitting side by side in the same rack for different kinds of use cases. We continue to sort of scale up the platform. We continue to sort of add more management, automation, orchestration hooks, right? And on the networking side, things just keep getting faster and faster, right?
Yeah, and then at a macro level, just at a really quick macro level, I can't go without talking about the Internet of Things, right? Yeah. We're helping customers prepare for billions, right? I call it preparing for billions, right? For billions of connected devices. That's both at the intelligent edge, where we have edge-line and compute now for distributed analytics, where we've got amazing campus wireless technology with Aruba, but it's also in the data center, right? Distributed computing, distributed systems, technologies like Synergy, which are essentially cloud in a rack, right? I think you'll see us make some real strong moves there on the IoT front as well.
Well, thank you guys both for taking some time to talk about all these things. We'll have to get further into the IoT another time. There's lots of discussions there. Always. For sure. But Bobby, Sarwar, thank you very much for joining us at the new stack, and we'll see you again soon.
Thanks for having me. Thanks.
HPE is a sponsor of our coverage from OpenStack in Barcelona. Learn more about HPE Helion, the hybrid cloud, and what it all means for the enterprise customer at hpe.com. Learn more again at hpe.com.